You sort of were talking yesterday to me about the founder might be the CEO for a while, but there's going to be sort of a sort of evolving set of needs. And I think quite often this group here may be on the board, and it probably is a bit of a juncture. We see it amongst our clients as well, where a founder will step away quite often later than what would probably be ideal. I mean, with your sort of particularly investor hat on, how do you sort of manage that when you've got a founder and say to them, actually, company's moving on, you're here now, and bring someone else on board?
Yeah, you watch people like Bill Gates at Microsoft, and he becomes the model for what entrepreneurs think they need to do, which is to be able to manage the creative process, the building process, the scaling process, and then ultimately the ability to lead a public company worth billions and billions of dollars. I'm not sure that's right. I question that. As I look at the companies that, my experience in building companies, they kind of go through 3 leadership phases, right? There's in my book, the first book I wrote, The Monk and the Riddle, I liken them to dog breeds. Bear with me. The first dog breed being the retriever, and that's the entrepreneur who evangelizes an idea and brings together the resources and constituents necessary to prove concept. They've got to be incredibly charismatic in some way. I mean, they might be completely dull to the naked eye, but their brain needs to be charismatic. Their vision needs to be charismatic. And they've got to be effective at pulling those resources together. That's one skill set. The next skill set I think about is the pointer. And that's the leader who now, with this proof of concept and these resources, has to find the way. They have to find the market and the distribution mechanism and the business model and all those things that are critical to building the business and getting it to scale. And then I think about the husky. This is the leader that's got to pull that scaled operation forward. No longer moving at 200% CAGRs, but suddenly at 15% CAGR. And somebody who's just grinding it out, carrying an organization, providing the leadership necessary for that to be successful. Sometimes a founder can go through all of those stages and come out the other side. Most often, they can't. And it's my job to help them understand the requirements of each of those stages, to drill it into their heads how they're going to be judged. And if I do that well, and sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't, but if I do it well, they'll come tell me when they're failing. They'll come and tell me when it's time to replace themselves. Because as I remind them, yes, you're the CEO, but more importantly, you're my partner and a stakeholder. We want to see this successful. We want to see your vision successful. So what we want is the best leadership we can have at any single moment. And if it's not you, then help me figure that out early, and let's bring the right person in. Now, what that doesn't mean is that I want to get rid of the founder. I take 2 big risks every time I make an investment and grow the business. And those risks are the day I write the first check and the day I remove the founder. Those are my biggest risks. Unlike what the mythology of Silicon Valley, which is, we always, venture capitalists are going to replace you as a founder. That's insane, right? I mean, that's who I invested in. I may replace them as CEO, but I certainly don't want to replace their importance and the vision and the energy and the enthusiasm and tenacity of the organization. So it's my job to make that all work. I'm a talent manager in these environments. And as I said, money is probably the least important thing that I bring to the table when I make one of these investments.